Yo, what is going on, everybody? Brandy here, Nerds Templar. Welcome, fellow nerds. Yep, Lord Boy. What up? What up? Uh, didn't mean to close that, but I guess I am. Got episode 6 of Beyond Lumina today, nearing the end of the currently released episodes. 10 of them. So soon we'll actually have some new stuff posted. And I'm currently on episode 18 and writing, if you're wondering. But yeah, I'm not going to give a huge intro this time, but just like last time, I'm going to start with the previously on, and I'm going to try to make this short and also make sure that this sound is back on for later so I don't forget that. All right, so yeah, spoiler alert. We got Aezic Zin, lieutenant of the Free World Alliance, made his way to his home. A lot of different mysteries unfolding, unraveling as we go, even just from the beginning, including Azic's mysterious headaches and loss of memory, foggy memory. He makes his way to Ravina, where there's been a recent battle, more like an attack, and he also learns about another attack on one of the warships of his alliance, his Free World Alliance, which he is a lieutenant. Within which, I guess. So yeah, there's him, and then he meets Vala as he's trying to gather information on Ravina, maybe about where his family is. Having trouble doing that, he meets Vala. She can't help, along with her commander attempts to help. No luck. He then meets Zario, who takes him in a place in the north of there, where he meets some more Ravinians. Ravina is the name of the planet. I think that was the name of episode 1. And yeah, he goes on a couple missions then to try to track some things down. The Royal Ascendancy is the other major power that's involved. Currently, the Tansorian Federation, the other of the 3 major powers, the Free World Alliance, the Royal Ascendancy, the Tansorian Federation, both of which may be at war with the Free World Alliance. It's still up in the air because the Federation was the one who attacked the warship. The Ascendancy, around the same time, was the one who attacked Ravina in a different part of the star system, which is what Lumina is, a star. So we're dealing with a interstellar story. And so eventually, yeah, Aezic goes on a couple missions around Ravina, goes up into local space with Zario there at the bottom and his crew of Ravinian soldiers that he meets. Zario Lawner, the commander of them, down at the bottom. They end up actually betraying Aezic because they're not actually Ravinian soldiers. They are instead mercenaries working for the Ascendancy, who is posing as the Ravinian military in the north, a place called Animov, where Aezic was taken to by Zario and others. And then after that, they are attacked while they're on an asteroid outpost, both Aezic and Zario and the rest. So they get turned on by the Ascendancy, trying to clean up, basically, clean up any loose ends. And so they all are able to escape, except for one of Zario's crew members named Bo Hawk. He is missing in action. And so then they make their way to an independent planet called Ob, where they're able to get a different ship other than the Ascendancy one they had to hijack to get off of the asteroid. So then they go to an independent planet, basically force them to give them a ship, where they go to then a different alliance world, a big alliance world named Sotama. They split up Aezic and Zario and the rest, even though they kind of sort of made amends, I suppose. Zario and the rest, though, decide to stay. Zario decides to stay. The others stay with him, even though some of them, like Mecha, doesn't understand why they're staying. Now I will bring up this real quick here and show some more of the pictures because I don't have them on the thing yet. So I'm just going to have to do it this way. If I can do this without it messing up as it usually does. Oh, there we go. All right. So yeah, Aezic there. And there we go. Aezic, Valeries, Sergeant Valeries. That's Lieutenant Aezic Zin of the Free World Alliance. Sergeant Valeries of the Alliance. Zario Launer, mercenary. His subordinates, yeah, you can see this. His subordinates, Valanth and Hawk. Hawk is the one missing. And then Hawk's two subordinates, if you will, the guys that kind of he leads, if you will, in the sort of the little mercenary crew, Philony and Usion. And then the ones that Valanth leads, Mecha and Argyle, and that's the crew of them. Vala's superior in the Free World Alliance, Sergeant Major Ty Ravim there. And then her sort of other half, the other subordinate of Major Ravim is Master Sergeant Maloon. And that is everybody we've met so far, pretty much. We'll meet some other people. So yeah, not everybody happy with the staying, but you know, they basically just do what Zario says. And then Aezic kind of, again, on this new Free World Alliance planet, trying to figure out some information on what has happened on Ravina, where his family may be, if perhaps they're there. He's even trying to reconnect with his captain and his own subordinate, and he's having trouble doing either of those, connecting with either of them. And so everything seems fishy. And then he can't get a hold of, he gets a hold of once the colonel who is on the planet of Satama. But that's at the second time when he's going to meet with him again, he actually runs into Vala, who is on planet by order of Major Ravim down there, who told her to track Aezic because he's suspected of treason. Where is he? There he is. So she's tracking him. She seemed to be the best choice. Ravim thought, because Aezic would perhaps trust her. So they end up together then on planet. Vala tells him that, and she's not lying, that the colonel is not in when Aezic goes to meet with him. So they end up going to a space inn to just kill some more time, where Aezic then and Vala too discover that there's a bounty that's been placed on Aezic by the Free World Alliance, and that is where we left episode 5. Here we go. Card game? Well, you know what? Well, this isn't a card game yet, but my card games, I would love for everybody to learn more about them. We will in the future. Sorry, Florida boy. But yeah, all right. I'm going to mute myself, and we are going to, get into this. Let's do it. Episode 6, Wanted. Mute. Beyond Lumina, Episode 6, Wanted. Aezic continually scanned the room for signs that someone was going to act on the bounty warning that was posted on every entertainment console. He didn't see any other Alliance soldiers, however, other than Vala. Aezic quickly left the space inn and headed for his Vector VX7 grav bike. What in Lumina is going on here? He wondered. What could they have possibly posted a bounty for? His data transmitter, military issued, was disconnected. He felt instantly cut off from the outside world. He had no idea where he would go. Sotama was one of the worst places he could be as a wanted person of the Free World Alliance. And he would have no chance of getting a ship off-world now. Aezic took off on his grav bike in the direction it was facing and didn't stop. He needed to think of something, but nothing made sense to him at the moment. When he looked behind him, he saw Vala pursuing him. "Commander, come in," Vala said, a bit shaken by the surprise of Aezic's bounty. "Yes, Sergeant Rees," came the familiar voice of Sergeant Major Ravim. "Commander," she repeated, "I've made contact with Lieutenant Zin, as I reported earlier. However, I just discovered that the Alliance has placed a bounty on him. What should I do now regarding my mission?" "Yes, Sergeant," Ravim started. "I'm aware of the situation. And I've also informed Command that you are working undercover to keep track of him. Just continue what you are doing, and you will be safe from any repercussions. Stay with him. Help him with whatever he is after. Aye, Commander, Vala replied. She didn't need to ask what the bounty was for. She was quite sure she knew. Treason. She continued to follow Aezic on her grav bike. The two of them traveled across the hemisphere of Sotama before Aezic finally had enough. If I'm gonna have any chance of escape, I need to get rid of her first. He came to a quick stop and jumped off his VX-7, immediately brandishing his concentrated plasma blade as Vala's grav bike sped toward him. Vala noticed the fiery blue blade early enough to avoid running directly into it, but Aezic still connected with her grav bike, sending her spiraling into the air. Vala had to let the grav bike go as it crashed to the ground in a fiery heap. She was able to descend safely with her paracloak, but was still unnerved. Wait, please, she said. Aezic stood ready to attack. You ought to know you can't take me in, he said. No, I'm not trying to, she replied. I want to help you. Why would you possibly want to help me? Aezic asked, very suspicious of her. Because I don't believe that you did anything wrong, she answered as earnestly as she could. I don't know much about you, but from what I do, I can tell you're a good person. I want to help clear your name. In a short time, Aezic was fooled by Ascendancy forces, and now this. He was running short on trust. What is to stop you from telling the Alliance everything I'm doing? Vala was about to make a big decision. Her conscience was somewhat availed by being able to ask Sergeant Major Ravim about her orders earlier, but there was no returning from what she had to do now. She removed her tri-optics, which held the Alliance's data transmitters, cutting herself off from the rest of the military, including Ravim. There, she said. Now they won't know anything until you're ready to come forward. Aezic couldn't argue with this act of faith, yet he was still skeptical. You don't even know me, he responded. I know enough, Vala answered, to know that you're not on the wrong side of things. I believe that you're out here looking for leads on your family and your people, and there can't be anything wrong about that. I heard about the stolen Alliance cruiser, but they also found a lot of Ascendancy soldiers at that outpost. Nobody in their right mind would really believe you meant any harm to the Alliance by whatever happened there. I certainly don't. So you have family here? Aezic randomly mentioned at the strangest of times. Well, yes, Vala started. But according to your bioscan, Aezic cut her off. You're from Rayayu. I am, Vala replied again. But I also have some family that moved here to Sotama. Not many, but some. It's certainly possible, Aezic thought. Many people moved around within the Free World Alliance, especially to Sotama. Then you would be able to get me transport off planet, right? Yes, Vala answered. But it might take a little time, and a little trust on your part. Fine, Aezic finally said, then disengaged his concentrated plasma blade. Then get on, and tell me where we're going. Not good, Zario said, looking at the bounty on the entertainment console, as they sat at a space inn in Bright City. What should we do? Billini asked disconcertedly. The others still aren't here, Rusian added. We have to wait for them, Zario answered. But we need to get out of here as soon as possible. He contacted Valenth. Hey, what's going on? I'm with the others, Valenth responded. But I can't convince Mecca to return. Tell her we're about to be wanted by the Alliance while we're on one of their core worlds, Zario replied. We're taking the ship to Lowtown. Meet us there immediately. Got it, Valenth said. We'll be there soon. Now we need to go, Zario told Billini and Usian. But why are we going to Lowtown? Billini asked. Because, Zario said. The bounty update said Aezic was seen there. In the midst of the confusion with the Tansorian Federation, the Royal Ascendancy has ruthlessly attacked the Federation world of Metezkar, leaving it in rubble. There has been no word from the Metezkar military as to what caused such devastating destruction, but many are already speculating that it may be in the class of super-ion weapons, known to be banned throughout the system. Whatever the cause, this once thriving planet has been reduced to nothing. Evacuation of the remaining inhabitants is already underway, as the atmosphere has been rendered unlivable. In this rotation, we mourn the loss of a world, along with millions of lives. The private stood at his guard post in shock, rubbing his hand against his pale forehead. He could not even begin to fathom the amount of life that was snuffed out so carelessly and so instantly. He didn't know anybody from Metesgar, but he was grieving for such a profound loss nonetheless. Most of all, though, he was fearing that it was only the beginning. He thought, what if that was just a test before they do the same to Tan and, he looked around, to Soar? He wanted to stop thinking about it, but the possibility was too real to dismiss it. He feared for his own life, certainly, but more so he feared for the lives of his family and his friends, all of his loved ones and neighbors, and the other soldiers he served with. Everyone here could be gone just the same way. "Private," a voice came from somewhere nearby. Yes, Sergeant." "I can see you talking to yourself from here," his commander replied. "We are going to have some ships arriving eventually. Refugee transports. Look sharp out there." "Yes, of course, sir," the private responded. "I'm prepared." But how long will they be safe here? He wondered. "Okay, we're here," Vala said, as she and Aezic arrived in the city of Strata, where Vala's family was. "It's probably best if I go myself while you lay low somewhere." Aezic agreed and parked the grav bike in a nearby alley, while Vala walked into a building. He figured if she was setting him up, it was better to be outside. But to further ensure he wasn't set up, he moved to a different location than where Vala left him, somewhere he could still scope the area to see what would happen. Vala was in the building for a long time before finally coming out and making her way to where she thought Aezic was. He watched her as she got to the alley. She was of course surprised not to find him there, and looked around as though she were going to spot him leaving. Then she sat down there like she planned to wait for him to return. Well, she's not running off to contact anyone, Aezic thought. That's a good sign. He decided to go back shortly after Vala returned, and she stood up as he approached. "There you are," she said. "I thought you left me here. Where did you go?" "I thought the position was compromised," Aezic replied. "So did you have any luck?" "Yes," Vala said. "My relatives are able to lend us a ship, but they had to go to the hangar ahead of us to get it ready. It hasn't been used in a while." "I'm in your debt then," Aezic said. "So what will you do now? You've probably helped me as much as you should. If you're spotted with me, yours will be the next bounty they post." "I'm staying with you," Vala answered. "I'm not worried about that because I'm sure we will be able to clear your name. Do you even know what the bounty is for?" "Not the details," Vala answered again, "but I know enough to know they're mistaken." "Fine," Aezic finally conceded, "but I don't share your optimism, and I can't guarantee you'll make it out of this." "I know," she said, "but you need help, and I am all you have." After waiting a while in the alley, the two made their way to the hangar where the ship was docked. Aezic walked a couple paces behind Vala and continued to watch for any signs that he was being led into a trap. But no trap was sprung, and they successfully made it to the hangar, and to the ship, which was a modestly sized civilian frigate, a ship that was smaller than a cruiser and the most common for non-military use. Certainly an upgrade from the last one, Aezic thought. As Aezic and Vala began to prepare for takeoff, a couple dozen soldiers flooded the hangar and opened fire on the ship. "I knew it," Aezic thought. But Vala was surprised too. "No! How did they know where we were?" "Quick, off the ship," Aezic said. "They're going to destroy it." They hurried out the back, away from where the Alliance troops were, and took cover behind the ship. "Got any other plans?" he asked. "No, I'm sorry," Vala said. "I didn't think they would find us so quickly." Since the soldiers didn't seem at all concerned if she got caught in the crossfire, Aezic finally had to admit she was probably telling the truth. Well, I'm glad you trusted me, even if it gets you killed, Aezic replied. He was out of ideas too. They didn't have a way out of the hangar other than the exit that was blocked by the Alliance, or the ship they were currently blasting, which was already probably non-operational. Just then, Aezic and Vala looked up to see another ship approaching the hangar bay quickly, and landing dangerously close to them, behind the ship the soldiers were targeting. It was the rickety ship from Ob. The hatch opened and plasma blasts came pouring out as Usia and Villainy stepped out of the ship. Looks like you could use some assistance, Villainy shouted over the fray. You guys again, Aezic said, but he had to admit he couldn't be happier to see them. Hurry and get on, Villainy instructed. We'll cover you. A quick glance of agreement and Aezic and Vala made for the Obian ship. They got in and Villainy and Usian followed. Well, it's good to see you again, Lieutenant, Zaryo said as they entered the bridge. Everyone on board? Good. He lifted the ship back off, and they were quickly into the atmosphere. So, who's your friend? Zaryo asked Aezic as they ascended. A sergeant from the Alliance, Vala Rees, Aezic answered. It's a pleasure to meet you, Vala said to him. I'm in your debt for coming to save us. Likewise, Zaryo replied, although it seems like strange company for a fugitive of the Alliance to keep. I trust her, Aezic said. I'm still not sure about you, but I do appreciate the help. How did you know where I was, anyway? We knew you were in Lowtown, Villainy started, and so we went there and saw the mess of a grav bike you left. From there, I just tracked your grav bike's vapor trails with the tri-optics. The Alliance probably found us in a similar way, Aezic thought. Well, thanks again, he repeated. Before the ship cleared the planet, however, it was shot by a defense tower from the ground, causing significant damage and nearly crippling it. Hold on, everyone, Zaryo said as he made a break for deep space. The battle-scarred ship rattled from exertion, but they were able to make it out of Sotama's local space. It didn't seem that the Alliance was able to scramble any of their ships quick enough to pursue them, either. I think we made it, Zaryo announced. Uh-oh, this isn't good, Villainy said, shattering that hope. Our energy capacitor has been hit. There's no way we're going to have enough to make it to another planet. We're basically stranded. You're right. That's not good, Zaryo repeated. Even if the Alliance doesn't find us, Aezic said, this ship isn't built to sustain life for extended periods of time. We won't last long out here. How long do you think? Usian asked. Well, Villainy interjected, based on my readings when the ship was operating normally, and with how many people are on board, we can probably make it a full universal rotation, not much longer. Now you've doomed us all, because you had to go back for him, Mecha said, still not happy with Zaryo, when you wouldn't go back for Hawk. She began to get up and leave the bridge. Enough, Mecha, Zaryo shouted. If you would stop running off and let me explain. We were all around enough conversations during our employment in the Ascendancy, and saw enough go down to know that it's odd how easily we operated among the Alliance. And now, after we're turned on, Zin here has his own people put a bounty on his head. Something just doesn't add up, and I've had a really bad feeling ever since the asteroid. A feeling that we're in the middle of something big, and we should help, because we can't run anywhere. Mecha seemed to relax a little, but still walked away. With nothing else to do and spirits all but broken, the rest slowly trickled off to be on their own, leaving Aezic and Zaryo on the bridge. We've spent quite a bit of time together, Aezic started, but I really don't know anything at all about you and your crew. Though you were lying to me, so that's not surprising. Yeah, Zaryo answered. There's not much to say. We're all from Dasein, and have known each other for a long time. But Dasein is part of the Alliance, Aezic said, so you really are traitors if you were working for the Ascendancy. We haven't been on Dasein in a long time, Zaryo replied. We don't consider ourselves citizens. In fact, we don't consider ourselves citizens of anywhere. We had our ship, the one that's still in Animov. That was our home. So no, we aren't traitors, just mercenaries. We left Alcyon because of the Alliance, and we aren't fond of them, but we've realized even before being turned on that all the major powers are the same, just with different labels. They all do what they please without care for any consequences. A man stranded in deep space on a ship from an independent world who is with one of those major powers' officers is not in a place to talk about consequences, Aezic said. I didn't realize you had a sense of humor, Lieutenant, Zario came back. You chose an odd time to show it. Well, there's something about dying alongside someone, Aezic said, that makes you feel closer to them. Yeah, Zario leaned back in his chair. Quite the shared experience. Vala laid on the bed in one of the ship's quarters. She had been crying. She was glad everyone started to go off on their own. It was a good cover for her own exit. She had been alone for quite some time now. She tried to get some sleep, but it was no use. She was terrified. She knew things would get a little hairy during this mission, but Ravim told her she would be safe. Now she was stranded on a ship in deep space with no way to communicate with them. Her only hope now was that an Alliance ship would find them drifting out here, but chances are they thought the ship escaped. Of all the ways to die, Vala thought, this is the worst. Cut off from everyone and everything out in the middle of space. Of course, only a fool like me dies this young in our system today. Anyone else can get cured of virtually anything and live well into their hundreds. But here I am risking my life out on this scrap heap. Was it worth it? I haven't even accomplished anything. Not just in my mission, but in my life. I was clearly not cut out to be an Alliance soldier. She thought of home, and all the people she would have said goodbye to if circumstances were different. Without her tri-optics, she was truly cut off out here in deep space. With the rest of the crew also on their own, there was utter silence. A death-like silence that is eerie any other time, but unbearably morbid at a time like this. Vala continued to cry. But then, quite a while later, Zario's voice came over the ship's intercom. Hey, everyone come out on the bridge, hurry. After leaving Zario on the bridge, Aezic found one of the empty quarters and sprawled out on the bed. I can't believe this is how it's going to end, he thought. Done in by my own people, and with no idea why. He wasn't afraid to die. He faced that reality basically every day on the front lines. What he didn't get was why it had to be like this. The fact that my own people turned on me, does that mean my entire service has been for nothing? Aezic was also not one to be too sentimental about such things, but he did believe that everyone got one chance to make some impact in the world before they're gone for good, and it seemed that he may have been played the entire time. So much effort poured into becoming a lieutenant, he thought, just for this to happen. Talk about a meaningless life. This line of thought was running through Aezic's mind as he was fading in and out of sleep. Trust! He bolted awake, sitting up in his bed. He could have sworn someone had whispered in his ear. He even thought he felt it. Vala? He called, thinking maybe she was outside the room, but he didn't receive any reply. My imagination is running wild now, that's great. He tried to calm himself down and get back to sleep. As soon as he started to doze off again, however, he was startled once more by Zario's voice over the ship's intercom. Hey, everyone come out on the bridge. Hurry. You've really done it this time, Zario thought to himself, as he sat on the bridge alone, staring out of the viewport. Aezic had just gone to try and get some rest. It was bad enough back on Tygus too, but now I've doomed all my friends and my sister, Zario thought again. He lightly jabbed his foot at the steering unit in front of him. Can't contact anyone, can't fix the damage, can't survive until we drift into another planet. Free will is a myth. But I guess I did choose to help Zin, and we did somewhat choose to be mercenaries. although the Alliance certainly helped guide us onto that path, and guided us right into a life basically on the run. Everyone we could contact for help is right here on this ship, drifting to their doom. I mean, where are we at this point? He took a look at the nav computer. Yeah, as I thought, we're just about to pass the absolute middle of nowhere. Zario sat back down at the helm and continued to gaze out of the viewport. I'm way too young for this. We're all way too young for this. But it would take a miracle to... He trailed off as he stared into the emptiness of space. It was not as empty as a moment ago. Zario thought he could make out something in the distance. A ship, perhaps. What, in Lumina? He rushed back over to the nav computer and watched for the signature of the incoming object. It is a ship, Zario thought, a small spring of hope beginning to well up inside him. What kind of ship, though? It doesn't look to be Ascendancy or Alliance. In fact, it doesn't look to belong to any Federation worlds either. Strange. He opened the ship's intercom and told the rest of the crew, "Hey, everyone come out on the bridge, hurry." Things got even stranger as the ship got closer, and Zario realized it looked to be an even less elegant ship than their current one from Ob. What is that? He had never seen a ship like it before. He didn't even know if he could call it a ship, actually. For all he knew, it could just be a large mass of floating space debris. The others quickly made their way to the bridge, and were just as shocked as Zario when they saw the ship, which was now close enough to be noticed as they approached the bridge's viewport. "Well, I don't know what to say," Aezic said as he looked at the object. "What kind of ship is that?" Vala asked. She had only done a haphazard job of hiding the fact that she'd been crying most of this time. "I've never seen one like it before," Aezic replied, "but it's certainly not Ascendancy or Alliance." The ship was quite near at this point. "Hello over there," came a voice over the comms. "You look like you could use some help." Aezic ran over to the command chair and opened communications with the other ship. "Who are you?" he asked. "We're just a crew of salvagers," came the answer. "We can get you aboard here and tow your ship to our world if you want." "And what world is that?" Aezic asked again. "Castia." "That's an Ascendancy world," Aezic told the group. "I don't know about this, but they obviously don't seem military, and we probably won't have any other chance to get out of this." "Well, they didn't lie about where they were from," Vala said. "They seem like good people who just want to help." "Why are you so willing to help us out?" Aezic persisted in questioning the other ship. "Well, I don't know," the other voice said, as if they had not even considered the question until now. "You just looked like you needed some help, and we were here to offer it." "I don't know about this guy," Valance said. Zario disagreed. "I think he sounds alright, and I agree we're not going to get this lucky twice." "You might be a little surprised by our appearance," Aezic said through the comms. "I'm sure it will be quite alright," came the reply. "You can see by our ship we are not much to look at ourselves." "I don't think he got what I meant, but at least I warned him," Aezic told the others, then returned to the comms. "Then yes, we will gladly accept your help. Thank you, we're in your debt." Once the ship was near enough, they were able to attach docking ports and tow cables, and Aezic and the others prepared to onboard. "Be ready for anything," he told the crew. He led them through the docking port with Busion and Zario behind him. They got to the port hatch, and when it opened, the crew of the other ship was on the other side to meet them. A man in front, Aezic presumed it was the man he had been talking to, had a look of bewilderment on his face when he saw Aezic and the others. You're from the Alliance?" he asked, but obviously knew the answer, at least as it would have been before the bounty. Aezic and his crew were just as taken aback by the crew of the salvage vessel. They all wore dark, dull, monotone-colored robes with big sleeves and large hoods pulled over their heads. The hood of the man in the front was pulled up enough that Aezic could make out his rather aged face, white hair and a beard, and piercing gray eyes, even through his astonishment. It's hard to explain, Aezic said, but we certainly don't mean you any harm. And if you have any spare clothes, we will gladly change out of these uniforms so as not to cause you any problems with your people. The man seemed to recompose himself, then gave them a warm smile. Well, come aboard then. My name is Father Klaus. What we have is yours, and we will do what we can for you when we get to Castia. All right, that's episode 6, and there's a color wheel. Yeah, so more mysteries, I suppose, all of which will be revealed in time. That is now 6 of 10 episodes in of what's already released. I have about, and I say this about every time, I have about 18 episodes written currently. The outline of the whole thing's done at this point. I actually started this series just as like a, I don't even know, like a test series kind of, to as a first one to release on YouTube, because I already have other stories that are like, well, like actual books written basically at this point, and like full huge like outlines for several series and things like that for other series. But Beyond Lumina is something I was throwing together basically for YouTube just to kind of see what would happen. And then, you know, as with mostly any story, any writer I guess would know, even an amateur one like myself, you get into a story after you write a bit of it. So and of course, after I did 10 episodes, I figured, well, we'd have to finish it at this point. So I am finishing it. It's not as off the cuff as it used to be. I mean, it wasn't totally just random. It was just being written as I went, sort of. I was maybe a few episodes ahead, making sure everything would still fit, and several episodes obviously ahead in my mind. But then as the story progressed, so did the outline, and so did like everything else. The outline in my head. It's almost like 3 different things, right? The story where it's currently written to, the outline of the story that's like also currently written, and then the outline of the story and within the writer's mind, which has yet to be put down yet, perhaps. So that's all. In fact, at this point, Beyond Lumina has several books planned and outlined at this point. If we're talking about the mind outline. But yeah, every episode is about 10 pages of Google Docs. If you're wondering, it takes, just like this episode, probably about, what, 25 minutes or so to get through it, me reading it. Oh man, could you only imagine how much better this would be? Eventually, we're going to have to do a remastered version of the whole series once I get, I'm shooting for 30 episodes. So we're about a third of the way through already. I'm almost 2/3 of the way written now, officially, and then the last third is already outlined, as I said. But could you just imagine how much better this would be if I wasn't narrating and doing all the, well, narrating, okay, maybe that's okay. But if I wasn't doing all the voices for all the parts, especially the female parts, man, maybe in the future we'll have enough voice actors and actresses that we can fill all, or at least most of the parts, at least all the female parts and maybe some other male parts, just so it's not my voice the whole time. Oh man, it would make it so much better. We could even maybe at that point have the music that I did myself remastered, if you will, by somebody who's just a little more skilled than me. But yeah, I mean, the music's not too bad, but it could certainly, I could see how somebody musically inclined who would like to focus on something like that could easily take that and make it better. But yeah, man, that would make this series just so much better. Anyway, yeah. So I was going to turn spoiler thing back on here real quick, just so anybody tuning in at the end here knows. Again, there's Aezic, Vala now together on the Albion ship again with the rest of the crew, Zario, Valent there, who wasn't sure about their new friends. Hawk still missing. Filony there, and Usion helping Aezic and Vol aboard the ship during the firefight. Usion always ready to help in combat. That's this heavy aether plate. That's the hardest known metal in the system. Aetherium. It's actually mined. One of the primary places it's mined is on the planet of Ravina, which is Aezic's planet. It was mentioned earlier in the story that was speculated why the attack, the Ascendancy attack, happened on Ravina. It was because they were targeting the Aetherium mines and manufacturing plants. So, yeah, Hawk, Villainy, Usion wearing his Aether plate. So he'll just tank anything. He can tank those. There's two different. If you go back in the series, you can also see this. In fact, let's do this real quick. Do I have that somewhere here? Yeah, somewhere here. Never mind. I don't think I can do it. Wait here. Here we go. Let's just do this real quick. Oh no, I can't. Never mind. Sorry. Okay, so maybe this will work. Yeah, I guess this will have to do. There we go. All right. So yeah, I do have this actually that I showed, and I think it must have been episode 1. Just another really nerdy thing for all you nerds out there, because this could be made into any story. You can make games out of any story, obviously. But we have the stun blade. Don't really worry about that. And the synth blade is sort of your normal sword. It's like stronger than a steel kind of thing. So synth material isn't necessarily weak, but in this world, a regular steel blade would just be cut to pieces. So after the synth blade, a little stronger, you have the plasma blade, the regular plasma blade. You can see it's a lighter kind of blue there. And as it's used, it kind of charges up, it fires itself up, so it turns into sort of a more blue. And then you see here, there's the Aether blade, which is stronger than plasma. So plasma shots from a plasma pistol or rifle wouldn't really do much, doesn't do much to Aether plate, Aetherium being stronger than what regular plasma weapons can do. But then you have concentrated plasma weapons. The blades here, the ones that are shown, obviously, and those are basically the strongest known ones. I don't want to spoil too much there. But you can see, yeah, they're darker. They, of course, also charge up to like a violet color, indigo violet color, and that does cut through. It takes a bit, but but not much, and it'll cut through that Aether plate, Aetherium, whatever. So that's that. Just to give you, I guess, a little bit of nerdy info on that Aetherium, that Aether plate that Usion specifically wears. But there's plenty other people. It's a lot of Ravinians would have it. The big Aether blade on the back there. That's again, as mentioned in one of the first episodes, that's almost every Ravinian male would learn how to wield one of those almost before learning how to walk. It's kind of their thing, since Aetherium has always been mined and used on their planet, even in ancient times, pre-space times. So then Mecha, who's also not at all happy with, and there in the little bit of a reveal there, implicit reveal, you may not have caught it, so I'm just going to do it now for anyone who's hanging out, I guess, and ever watching this. You'll know now. Zario talking to himself at the end there, he was actually thinking to himself, I guess. Well, don't want to go too far there. Ooh, whoop. Thinking to himself about dooming his friends and also his sister. That would be Mecha. Mecha Launer would be her last name. So that is Zario's sister, Mecha there, and then Argyle, the last, who's basically always following Mecha around. So those are all those, and that's. Oh wait, yeah, we're just gonna go a little further down now that we have some more characters. I already showed last time, not just Ravim and Maloon, of course we have, but we have Private Boss. That's the young, kind of scared kid. That's also a soldier, a guardsman, talking to himself as well. The past couple episodes, then getting chided by his commander, his superior, who is actually down here, not named yet in the series, but it doesn't really matter. His name's Sergeant Bantha. There's him. Basically, looks similar there. Obviously, they're from the same place, I suppose. But then we did have one more person we met at the very end. There is Photoglaus. And we will get, of course, at the beginning and the end of every episode we do live here, I'll look at all the characters that we currently have met. So there's all of them. What are we up to now? 14. 14. We have more named characters than that at this point, but those are like the characters that deserve having AI art generated for them, because that's what all this is. As I always say, it's just AI generated stuff. So I can always use some great artists out there to make some nice, great artwork. It would all be donative at this point, but hey. And at some point, you know what, we're going to also have another Foundry vodcast where we talk about different games and stuff in the making. That was another reason I've been trying to pump out the last 20 episodes of this once we get through the live viewing of the first 10, is because I do want to maybe do some short stories of the Wildlands universe, which is going to be probably more like it's going to be a story that's probably, I don't know, 7+, age 7+. This is only 13+ because there's so many moving parts and intricacies going on. You can probably still appreciate enough of it as like a 10-year-old, I would say. But to really, really get it, I think 13+ is better. But still, there's still enough to appreciate as someone a little younger than that. And there's nothing, too crazy that you wouldn't see anywhere else. And just as everything that we make here on Nerds Templar, it is wholesome. It is not, there's not a bunch of immoral stuff involved. So you don't have to worry about anything like that. The only thing that would make the age range, or the minimum age thing go up, whatever rating, would be either how difficult the story would be to understand, or how much perhaps violence there is in it. But really, the violence can only bump it up to a certain amount, because there's violence in so many things. There's violence in the real world. We're all very aware of that. Kids are aware of that. Most stories, are you gonna Lord of the Rings, right? Who doesn't love Lord of the Rings, Star Wars, all those stories that have violence in them? Anyway, that's all I have to say. So, like, subscribe, comment, let me know what you think about the series. I know that there's probably not a whole lot of watching of it going on yet, but hey, maybe at some point in the future there will be. That's kind of the whole point. And just, again, getting it out there so it's out there, and then going through the next 30, getting all those out, and then it'll be done. The content will be there, and then we'll, of course, just continue with everything else we do. Speaking of everything else we do, 2 different things before I go. I am actually planning on coming back tonight, maybe around 6:30 p.m. Eastern, and doing another TCG live stream, because that was fun last time, this last Monday morning. So I'm probably going to do that. It might not be as long as that one was, almost 3 hours or something. This one will probably be like an hour and a half, maybe at the very most 2. So we're going to do that maybe tonight. I'll let you know on the Discord and in the community, perhaps, if that's going to happen. And the second thing I want to mention, and again, that's tonight. Second thing I want to mention is say goodbye to Terapagos EX, because this has been sold. I need to go now put it in a thing. Here. Boom. Need to go put it in its package to be sent off to his new home for $125, almost insta-sold. So I don't know. I think it was worth it. Anyway, guys, I will catch you in the next one. Aezic says peace. Randy, Nerds Templar, also says peace.